Right. Good day, good evening, wherever you may be. South Africa, UAE, South Africa or UAE, good evening or good afternoon. Thank you for joining. My name is Ryan Bond. I'm a citizenship by investment specialist, focusing mostly on my fellow South Africans at ROC Citizenship. Thank you everybody for joining. I think let's get proceedings going. Give me 1 second. There we go. Sorry, a bit of a glitch there. All right, so let me introduce our guests. This evening, we are very fortunate to have Jerry Morgan, who's the president and CEO of the Merkin Group. We thank him very much for joining us all the way from Canada. We also have Karina, also from Portugal, from the Merkin Group of companies as well. And I think a lot of you might know Paul Baker. He is the go-to and most trusted financial planner for South Africans here in the UAE. To get things started, I'm going to be introducing to you Lisa McShine. She is the managing partner of ROC Citizenship, and she'll be giving you a brief introduction, starting us off and giving introduction to who ROC Citizenship are. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Ryan, and thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is episode 7 of our webinar series in 2022. My name is Lisa McShine Thompson, and I am the managing partner of ROC Citizenship, as Ryan said to you. ROC Citizenship is a bespoke entity specializing in government-approved and residency and the citizenship by investment solutions. And we source them from the leading Caribbean jurisdictions and European jurisdictions, which we're going to be focusing on Portugal here tonight. We offer all the programs in the market, and we have a dedicated multilingual team. Our head office is in Dubai, UAE, and we have a branch office in Canada. So I will just quickly go through with you a few housekeeping reminders. This presentation will take about 35 to 40 minutes. The event is recorded, and we will share the link with you via your registered email address. Please type all your questions in the Q&A box at any time during this presentation, and we strongly advise that you do not leave your personal details in the Q&A box, like your email address and your phone number and stuff like that, okay? Your questions will be answered towards the end of our presentation. So I truly hope that this evening you find value from the information that's presented here, and I will hand you right over to my colleague, Ryan.
Thank you, Lisa, much appreciated. Let's get into it. Obviously, you've got a good insight into Portugal and the programs. I mean, I'm happy to talk it through, but obviously the EU is a Schengen state, very tourist friendly, globally accessible, and low crime rate, which is very important for South Africans. And one thing that's not mentioned there is that the Portuguese passport is actually considered was known as the 5th most valuable passport in the world, which is a great thing to have, and obviously very valuable people who are on passports that are a lot weaker and restricting their travel and their freedom of movement. So just moving on, we're looking at reasons to relocate to Portugal. And I'm sure you can maybe discuss a bit on these, Jerry. They're very obvious, but I mean, obviously the right to live and work in Portugal. So if you could talk us through, and I'll just open up these pages here, and you can maybe just mention a few things on these items. Can you see them?
Sure. Well, basically, as a golden visa holder, which is what you initially get under this program, you have the right to live, work, and study in Portugal. But furthermore, you have a Schengen visa, which gives you the right to travel freely throughout the Schengen region. And you can stay up to 3 months at a time in any other country of Europe. Once you've lived 5 years and spent 35 days over 5 years under the Golden Visa program, then you have the right to apply for citizenship. It takes about 8 to 10 months to get your citizenship. But once you have your citizenship of Portugal, you become a citizen of Europe. Okay. And that gives you the right to live, study, work in any European country, and that's forever. Right. So that's what you're looking for down the road.
All right, much appreciated. Thanks, Jerry. So obviously we're looking at the requirements for the Golden Visa. I know that you guys focus on the real estate part of it, the 350,000, the 280,000 programs. So could you just mention what categories they fall in and what are the requirements for those two programs, please?
Yeah, historically under the Golden Visa program, the most popular way to go was to invest 500,000 and buy a property in Porto, Lisbon, or the coastal areas. And that was traditionally the program that everyone looked at. And what we focus on, and we were the first ones when they created a category which is called rehabilitation. Either you invest 280,000 in a rural area, rural type location, or 350,000 in a location like Lisbon or Porto. So those were the categories that we specialized in. And we had 50% of the market for these particular categories. Right. When they made the rule changes, they canceled residential real estate. It was no longer possible in Porto, Lisbon, and all coastal areas. So the only place you could buy a residential property now is really in the interior. Right. Furthermore, they used to have investment in venture capital funds, and it was 350,000. Now they've raised that to 500,000. So really, what they've really said is what Mercant is doing at 280,000, 350,000 is what the government likes. We create jobs. We're good for the country in terms of developing tourism. So, you know, they've really basically said this is the type of projects that we like. And we're very happy because this is what we specialize in. So we're you know, with the changes, we're receiving more and more business, in fact. So right. We could not have written the program changes better ourselves.
Exactly. So the two programs that you guys deal in, that you specialize in, that you have 50% in the market, have not been changed, which is very fortunate for you. And I'm sure it keeps you a very busy man as well.
That's correct.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Jerry. All right. So maybe I'll just run through these. As the main applicant, there is no age limits, no specific education requirements, no proof of the source of funds, a minimal stay requirement of 7 days per year. So basically a 7-day holiday a year, which is not a very stringent requirement. Required to maintain your investment for 5 years. And limited number of documents required for the application. So it's a lot simpler than a lot of the other citizenship programs out there. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct. You know, I think if you're looking at Europe, I think Portugal is by far the best program in terms of price and in terms of ease. So, you know, what you're seeing is more and more attention coming to Portugal because it's a great plan B. And I think, you know, for a lot of your clients, that's correct. Really what they're looking for long term.
Correct, 100%. A plan B down the road that they might implement or not implement, whatever the case may be with your buyback, it still secures their funds. And then obviously they can obviously sit comfortably, live and work anywhere in the world right now and know that the program is running in the background. And the only inconvenience is to have like a great deal to me.
That's correct.
Okay, so we touched on this already, just the legislation update. So I think we can just skip right to the last one because you covered the other points. The commercial investment hotels and offices are not affected by the changes inside the law, which is what we discussed. And those are the programs that you run, which is paramount to what we're discussing here.
That's correct. You know, the changes are pretty simple. Commercial real estate in Porto, Lisbon, and certain coastal areas are still eligible. And that's what we're doing. And I think what we really focus on, why people like us, is we always do branded, internationally branded hotel chains in great locations, and in hospitality, location is everything. And what we clearly have is a good exit strategy, how you exit the fund and how you get your money back. And I think that's what people look for, is we provide a secure, safe investment for you to get your Golden Visa.
100%. You know, I do my due diligence on you before I promote your products to my clients. Now I can imagine that pales in comparison to big conglomerate companies such as the Hilton Amenities, these legacy hotels that you deal with, the due diligence that they do before partnering with you to obviously develop these hotels. So I think that gives my clients a lot of peace of mind as well.
Great.
I see you guys have been in a bit of the news.
Yeah, well, yes, you know, CEF, which is their immigration department, has basically split into 2 branches. So it's just an administrative change in terms of the overall organization of the department.
Right. Okay, so this is the timelines to your permanent residency or citizenship. Maybe you can run us through a bit this, Jerry.
Okay, so in terms of the process, if we were to start a case tomorrow, what we would do is arrange for a Zoom call between the lawyers in Portugal and the main applicant and their spouse if they have one. And during this call, what we would do first is authenticate both your passports. Secondly, get you to sign a power of attorney. With this power of attorney, we'll get both main applicant and spouse Portuguese tax numbers and open a personal bank account in Portugal for the main applicant. This would take approximately 4 to 5 weeks. Once this is done, then you will fund the account at your convenience. And when you're ready to do the purchase, the transaction will take place. Typical real estate transaction, we go before the notary. You're represented by your lawyers, the seller by their lawyers. The transaction will take place and you'll be issued a deed of ownership in your name for the percentage interest that you will own in the hotel. Once this is done, then we proceed to file your applications online. Very simple documentation: birth certificate, marriage certificate, and no criminal certificates. Once we file online, 2 to 3 months later, you get your pre-approval. And at this point, the whole family will travel to Portugal to do your biometrics. Now, there has been some delays in the biometrics due to the whole COVID situation, but hopefully over this year, we're going to catch up. Once you do your biometrics, 3 to 5 months later, you receive your Golden Visa card, and that's when your 5-year investment period will start. The first Golden Visa card is good for 2 years. During those 2 years, you need to spend 14 days in Portugal. Then the next card is good for another 2 years. Again, you need to spend 14 days in Portugal. Then on the next card, and in the 5th year, you need to spend 7 days in Portugal. And upon previously passing a beginner's Portuguese exam, you could apply for citizenship. Citizenship takes 8 to 10 months. So you're looking at holding the investment for about 6.5 years.
Right. And obviously, as soon as they get their residence card, they got the right to live and work in Portugal, should they so wish. I mean, should the situation change and they finish working here in the UAE, or they can work remotely, they can move to Portugal and work there. Is that correct? As soon as they get their residency card.
Once they have the card, they can go live, work, and study in Portugal permanently.
So that opens those opportunities. You can either let it run in the background, have a couple of weeks holiday every 2 years, or you can move there, which is a great option. Thank you, Jerry. All right, so this is where you come in, Jerry, a little bit more about your properties and that. I don't know if you want to risk sharing your screen, considering the glitches in technology we're experiencing at the moment. But I can stop sharing. You want to go ahead with that?
Well, okay. Here.
There we go. It's coming now, and then just push the bottom right there just to make it into slide format. Maybe while you're doing that, Jerry, so I just want to explain to my clients that, you know, ROC Citizenship is a solution-based organization. So that doesn't have to beholden us to any one specific developer or program or provider, service provider. A lot of the entities in our industry are, you know, they're committed to a specific development that they have a vested interest in. We go out there and look for the best products that suit our clients' needs and requirements. Your programs fit 3 of the most important requirements that my clients expect of the programs that I forward to them. And first and foremost is obviously the safety and security of their investments. You know, you want to have as minimal risk as possible to your investments. Now, obviously, you're going to now indicate the tremendous track record you have. Secondly, you're also going to, obviously, as we mentioned before, your partnerships with these legacy hotels adds another level to it. So the security of your investment, I feel, is one of the best in the industry. And that's why I'm very proud to present your products to my clients. Then secondly, as we mentioned as well, a lot of my clients, because your programs are so hands-off, you know, you don't have to deal with unruly tenants that probably don't speak the same language. You don't have to change a light bulb. There's nothing that you need to do other than go on holiday for 2 weeks every 2 years. So my clients who are living and working in the UAE or South Africa or anywhere in the world can continue to do that while the programs are running in the background. And also the benefit of that is if they start the program now, they're not risking the program coming to an end or the programs being dramatically increased in prices as they were seen in the 1st of January of this year. So those are very important factors. And the third point I'd like to mention that you obviously meet very well is that 280,000 or 350,000 euros is not a small amount to be sniffled at in anybody's portfolio, I would say. And the fact that you have your buyback guarantee gives that extra layer of peace of mind to my clients, knowing that after the 5 years of the required holding period, they can take that 280 or 350,000 and put it back into their retirement fund, or they can go and purchase a property anywhere in Portugal or anywhere for the EU for that matter, should they gain their EU citizenship. So those are the criteria my clients are looking for, that I look for, and that Merkin fulfills very well. So after saying all that, I'll hand it back to you, Jeremy.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure working with you. Actually, I just came back from South Africa. I always enjoy going there as well.
nice, I'm sure.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
Hopefully, you got down to Cape Town.
Yes. Okay, so we have two projects we'd like to talk about today. One is the 280,000 investment amount, and the other is 350,000. So we have two choices for you today. I'd like to talk about our first one, which is a project of 280,000 located in Lagos. Lagos is a city in the south, in Algarve, right on the ocean. This is a project for 2 Hilton hotels, 1 4-star hotel and 1 3-star hotel. This 3-star here will be a Hilton Garden Inn, and the 4-star will be a Curio property. So they're gorgeous properties. And one thing that's really unique is looking at this particular picture, which kind of gives you an idea of where the project's located. If you look at the white triangle in the middle, that's where the 2 hotels will be located. As you see to the right, you're right beside the marina, and to the right, there's a bridge which connects you to downtown Lagos. And in front of you, you're about 200 meters from the beach. You can't get a better location in a resort. And so we really, really feel this is a unique and really exciting project to be part of. In fact, we only started selling it less than 2 months ago, and we've already sold half of it. So that just tells you how popular the project is. So as I mentioned, it's 280,000 for 385 investors. It's 2 hotels. One hotel will be 180 rooms, and the second hotel will be 90 rooms. You have the guaranteed buyback at the end on this particular project. And you can see that its main features, they're resort hotels. So you're going to have your swimming pools, your pool bars, your sun decks, restaurants, gym. Each one has a balcony and sea view, and private terraces. You have your social areas, and with this type of brands, you're always going to get high quality features in your lobby and the rooms themselves. So this particular project is set, as I mentioned, a 4-star and a 5-star right on the same property. So in this particular project, we give you no return. But what we do is we pay your IMT and your VAT taxes of 35,000 euros, and that's equivalent to a 2% rate of return. So it really lowers your costs, and this project really focuses on saving you money. You get 1 week free per year staying, or 2 weeks over 2 years, and you have the guaranteed buyback at the end, which is really important. So once you get your passport, you exit, you take your money, and you go on to something else. So that's the first one. It's 280,000. Basically, you're in for 280 and you're out for 280, and you're enjoying some nice weeks while you're there. The second project is called Lapa 2, and this is a Marriott Renaissance Hotel in Porto. It's in an area called Lapa. So on this particular picture, you see the main hotel, and this hotel is almost built and be opening this year. This project is called Lapa 2, which means it's the second piece of the hotel, which is just an additional rooms of about 80 that will be added to the property. So you got the comfort with this project in that it's already under development, and you're really just expanding it. So this will be the largest hotel and convention center in Porto. And it's in the middle of the city, in the historic area, also close to the business district. So you're getting not just the tourism, but you're getting the business traffic as well. And here's a picture of the first phase. As you can see, it's a gorgeous property, and it's almost built.
I believe we have some put some images or videos of the construction actually coming up as well, which will give people a good indication of it. Yeah. Maybe people should take a notice of the infinity pool on the roof, which you can see in the construction, which is quite awesome.
So it's a beautiful location. And one thing you notice the park there, we gave half our land to the city, and the city is contributing 5 million euros to build the largest park in the city of Porto. So it's going to be right around our project, which just adds so much to it. So as you can see, Lapa is right in the middle of the historic district. The location's fabulous. These are some of the views you can have. The project itself is really just an expansion of an existing property. So there's nothing really complicated about it. The hotel itself, as you can see, it's the piece on the right, which will be connected to the main structure. And it's really just adding additional rooms and another swimming pool and a gym. So, you know, it's a nice one. And it's going to be the largest park in the city of Porto, right around us. So it's 76, but it could be up to 85 rooms. We're just finalizing that now. Swimming pool, gym, spa, all the things you'd want in a 4-star property. And here's construction. Now this is from October. We're 6 months later. So you can imagine it's almost done now. So this is Lapa 1. So as you can see, it's moving along very nicely. So, you know, nothing complicated about this project. You know where your money's going and you know what's happening. So you can feel pretty comfortable investing in this project.
And Jerry, if you invested in Lapa 1 or Lapa 2, you would still have a title deed for the hotel in its entirety. So you'll basically be a part owner in the hotel in its entirety, or will it be specifically to the Lapa 1 or Lapa 2?
It'll be specifically to Lapa 1 and Lapa 2,
Okay.
but they're connected together in terms of revenue and operation of the business, but just your deed is separate.
Okay.
And both have guaranteed buybacks, the same guaranteed buybacks. So here's a picture at night. So it's a lovely property. So in this one, it's 95 investors. Again, like the 280, you get your 1 week free per year. We pay all your taxes, and you have the guaranteed buyback at the end. The only difference really is the price. Instead of 280,000, you pay 350,000. But on this project, you earn a return of 3% per year, payable upon opening of the hotel, and payable each year as long as you own the property. So this one will provide you return. And generally speaking, if you're 3 or 4 people in your family, it covers most of your costs for the investment. So that's the 2 projects. They're both special, both great products, great brand names. And what I'd like to do now is maybe just talk a little bit about our track record. So we now have 5 hotels open in Portugal. And these are the first one in the screen here is the Casa. This is a 5-star property, opened last July. And it's doing very, very well over 80% occupancy. The next one is a boutique hotel in a city called Amarante. This is our first 280,000 project. It's opened last September, and it's doing very well. This particular area is very famous for green wine, Vino Verde. So it's a nice place to get away for a weekend. The last project on here is the Hilton Hotel, which we opened last month. This is right in the center of the city. It's a Hilton 4-star property. and it's you can go there and stay there now. It's open and running. On this screen, the first one is our Sheraton 4 Points, which opened a couple of weeks ago. It's right in an area called Montesinas, and it's 1 block from the beach, the most popular beach in Portugal. So you have surfing and everything there all around us. And the final one that's opened recently is a Wyndham. This is the first Wyndham property in Portugal. It's right in downtown on what's called Santa Catarina Street, which is the main shopping street in Portugal, in Porto. Then we have properties that'll be opening over the next year. The first one is a Marriott hotel right on the Gaia side, which some of the best views you'll have of Porto, the historic district. This hotel will open next year. Then we have what's called the Wyndham, the Porto Arts Hotel, which is in the cultural artsy district of Porto. This hotel will be opening later this year, and it's a Wyndham. Then we go to a place called Evora. Evora is a popular tourist and wine destination, about an hour and 10 minutes from Lisbon. Then we have a Hilton Garden Inn that will be opening later this year. Then we have the Renaissance, which, as you can see, will be opening, and we have the expansion that we talked about earlier. Then we have a Wyndham All Suites Hotel in downtown Porto that should be opening first quarter of next year. Then we have a Holiday Inn in Porto, which is right in the business district. It's really focused more on business. That's under construction, opening early next year. Then we have a second hotel in Evora, which is a Holiday Inn right on the edge of the historical area, very popular location. And then we have our 5-star Marriott, which is in Lagos. This will be opening in mid 2024. It's an all suite sports resort. And then we have a Moxie Hotel in Lisbon that's starting construction this July, which will be opening the following year. And then we have the 2 properties that we're selling here today, which is the Lagos Marina, great property, 280, and we have the Lapa 2, which is the Marriott Renaissance property. So that's what we have to present today.
Excellent.
And I think I'd like to turn it over to Paul to take over.
Yeah, thanks. Jerry, can you just stop sharing on your side?
Yeah, right away.
And then I'll start again on this side. Thanks a lot, Jerry. I really appreciate that. I mean, the track record is so important, you know, because you get these developers that are promising high return on investments, but they're unknown developers, you know. So it's a case of, if that's what you want and you're willing to take the risk, yes, you can obviously find those options. But if you want the security of investment, which I think is one of the most important aspects, then somebody with a strong track record working with legacy brand hotels like you do is paramount. So I thank you for sharing that with us. Let me bring in Paul here. Let me just share my screen. Wait, here we go. We're getting our technical issues sorted out today. I've obviously got to catch up, so let me just escape this quickly. Sorry.
You are getting a bit older, so.
Yeah, Paul, thanks, bud. Just give me 1 second and I'll catch up to you. There we go. All right, great. Excellent. So Paul Baker, everybody knows Paul Baker here in the UAE. As I mentioned, the trusted go-to financial planner, somebody I'm very proud to work with. He gives me a lot of credence in what I do. So you make me look good, Paul. So thank you very much for that. So Paul, let's just kick off with a couple of questions. Obviously being a financial planner. So from a financial planner's perspective or point of view, how do you see the Golden Visa?
Look, I think it's a really good option for a lot of clients, especially here in the Middle East, who, for whatever reason, don't want to go back to South Africa. And even clients living in other regions who are saying, well, and it's not just South Africans, but typically you and I, we're both dealing with South Africans mostly, and who want to create either a better future and have different options to go to going forward, because they see the UAE as a kind of a middle ground. Now, as you mentioned earlier, Portugal is very safe, so that's a great option for retirement. But it's also a very cost-effective place to retire to. So the cost of living is one of the most affordable in Europe, which is important when you're doing your long-term financial planning. The other thing we discussed the other day is yes, you can get the citizenship option, but for some people who maybe can't pass the Portuguese test, you can still at least get into the permanent residency program and still go there and retire. So there's lots of benefits there. So I think there's a lot of options, and I think it is a great option to get into while you're working here and for those earning tax-free salaries.
Okay, excellent. And then from a planning perspective, how should people allocate their money to this?
So this is a much more difficult question to answer because there's so many different circumstances here in the UAE. I mean, I deal with clients who have the cash in hand, either sitting in the bank or from selling properties and things in South Africa. And then you've got the others who are still saving up to get there. So we have to look at it from all those points of view. But I definitely think if you have the money and you've got your, your emergency fund set aside, this should still form part of your investing process. So I think I'm slightly different to quite a lot of, I want to say, financial advisors here in the Middle East who recommend long-term savings plans. That's your retirement and your savings plan, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, we see lots of people owning multiple properties, and that's where they generate their revenues from a savings perspective into retirement. So I definitely think we need to look at a balance of things. And that's where, if you had to pull your investments out and put them into a program like this for 6.5 years, and then, you get the guaranteed buyback after that period, you're getting your money back. You can then reinvest it or buy property or put it into any number of assets at that point of time. I think it's a good option. So if you have the cash, I definitely recommend getting into it. And just, and if we're still saving towards that, then we need to look at serious goals and seeing how quickly we can get into these programs.
So you're saying it's better to do it sooner rather than later?
I definitely think so. Firstly, just to get in there from the program perspective, but we also saw the changes coming in from the 1st of January this year where they changed the regions. Fortunately, these hotel type investments have not been changed, so those are still possible and available. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if they do away with the program, if Portugal all of a sudden has enough money that they don't need to be raising capital from these programs, then they could do away with them. But also for other clients that I see who have young children, you have a kind of a set deadline there because you want to get your children in on the program with you. And then you have to look at, well, how quickly can we do that while children still qualify as dependents under the program?
And I think we'd mentioned this the other day, but a lot of people leave their parents back home, and to include them on the program might be an option. I think you might want to bring up that question a bit later to Jerry and them. But have you got any questions for Jerry and Karina? I don't know if Karina's back on with us, but for Jerry at least.
Jerry, can you hear me? Oh, I assume so, but as long as you're available to respond to this. But one of the things I come across, because obviously I'm doing a lot of client facing and I deal with a lot of questions in this regard. And some of the individuals I deal with are quite concerned with the costs. But I mean, looking at this as an option, they want to go to Portugal. What would you say the benefits of doing a program like this that you're offering versus buying property directly in Portugal and holding that in your individual name?
Jerry, did you get the question?
No, sorry.
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear it. Sorry.
Okay, so just to compare, if someone had 350,000 euros sitting in cash, how would you compare or the benefits of going into your program instead of them buying an apartment somewhere and doing this themselves?
Well, I think what we offer is the blue chip solution. Leading brands, leading hotel chains are very reliable investments. I think first off, you can't buy an apartment in Lisbon or Porto, so it's not an option, or in the popular coastal areas. You can buy an apartment in the interior, but I don't know what you're going to do with it. Rent it out. It's not a popular destination in the interior. So yeah, technically you could go buy an apartment in the interior, but it's going to cost you 400. And then you have your VAT and your taxes and your upkeep. So you're probably up around 500,000. It's something you can do, but I think we provide a safer solution, something that's, less hassle, less worries. So, I really do think our option is better.
Okay. So look, that's the key, because I mean, I've come up with that with a number of clients who can afford to get into the program and feel that, they'd rather buy their own property. But my feelings on that or thoughts on that is there's a lot of headaches that comes with doing it that route, because you obviously, unless you're going to be spending your entire summers there, or you're going to be going there every year, you know, you're going to have to either deal with tenants or short-term letting, or it's going to be, as we now know, in your other regions, your central regions, and not in the main tourist hubs, essentially.
Exactly. And one of the problems with going your own route is, you know, renting out your property, the upkeep on your property, dealing with government bureaucracies, licensing, all these types of issues. You know, yeah, maybe if you do it in your home country, it's easier. But when you're into a country that you don't know, and you don't know the regulations, you don't know the systems, it can be quite troublesome.
Look, I wouldn't say do it in your home country. I've just sold, the transfer my house went through 2 days ago because we were getting quite frustrated with having to deal with tenants and upkeep and all those little things. So I think even in your home country where you have people that you trust to work on it, you still have those headaches, which I think a program like yours definitely, it takes all of those away, which is important.
And I think, like Jerry said, if you're going to be buying a property to either live in or rent out, you want it on the coastal region or in the major cities where you can get the proper rental income and you can get the appreciation when you resell it. You never know what the market's going to be in 5-10 years time. It could depreciate. With Jerry, at least you know you're set with a guaranteed buyback. So yeah, look, it's a personal choice, but these are the pros and cons we're discussing.
I agreed. And then something else I wanted to touch on, and I mean, Ryan just mentioned it very briefly, but talking about parents, and something I had forgotten was that we could include the parents in the application, but also something that I found interesting, and I just want you to confirm and elaborate on this, please, is that if your parents are over 65, you don't actually need to provide financial dependency or any proof that they're dependent on you. Is that correct?
Yes. Under the Portugal program, they're very generous. Both the main applicant and the spouse can bring each set of parents along, can be included with the one investment. If they're over 65, we don't need any documentation. If they're under 65, we need to prove some dependency. So it is very, very lean. And in addition, even on the children, there's no age for the children per se, as long as you can show dependency. And they define dependency as being in attendance at a full-time educational institution, not necessarily at a university, but just a full-time educational institution. So they're very generous on that as well.
Okay, so we don't have the age limit of 18 or 21 as long as they're still studying. You have
exactly. We've done people up to 30, in fact.
Okay, so they just need to, if they're over that age, you just need to re-enroll them in university or for some form, not a university, some form of course.
That's correct.
Okay, that's good. But yeah, I think that from a financial planning perspective, and I just look at my situation, my parents in the early 70s, but if I can get into a program like this in the next 2 years, 3 years, to have a position that I can then get them, even if it's just the permanent residency, and they don't go for the full citizenship, they can freely travel into Europe from South Africa. And the cost to do that is much less than if they had to go and do the program themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, keep in mind, Portugal's free healthcare. So it's also another benefit that you can avail yourself of.
Okay, so I'll tell my dad to wait a little while for his knee op that he needs to have later this year.
Paul, anything else you want to add? Are you happy?
Look, I'm happy. I mean, the one other thing I was looking at was the private equity funds, but I think that now that those are priced up to 500,000, it's not really a comparable anymore.
Yeah, I think with the funds at 500,000 now, it really becomes significantly different than what we're offering.
Yeah. Look, I mean, after Jerry's shown his beautiful developments, it's quite sad to look at it. Like, so basically, like I can put it, it's like somebody taking 280,000, putting in a strong currency such as the euro, parking it away for 5 years, working their way towards a citizenship. After 5 years, they get the currency back. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it, really, at the end of the day. Although they're amazing developments, it's basically, other than you providing the accommodation when they go and stay there for their holiday, which is something I don't think we've even mentioned. You can stay in the hotel of your investment if it's obviously ready build or one of the other developments that you have, should there be space available. But it's basically parking your money for 5 years, gaining your route to citizenship and getting your money back at the end of the day. I mean, I hate to cut it so short after you've just shown your beautiful developments, but that's the nuts and bolts of it, would you say, Jerry?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we provide an easy solution. You get an internationally branded hotel, which you can feel comfort, knowing that they provide a certain oversight. You have a great location, and in hospitality, location is everything. And we have a great exit strategy where you know you're going to get your money back once you get your citizenship. So you're not going to get rich with us, but you can at least not worry about yourself. And you know, when you have your investments in another country, these are things you worry about. So I think we help you to, you know, to relax and to feel comfort in the safety of our product.
All right. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've got another 10 minutes of an hour. So let's see if I can get some questions in here. Let me just give me 1 second. There we go. Get our little picture going. So we've got a question here. Chris here, must you put down the minimum cash of 350,000 to invest in the property? Well, obviously the minimum is 280,000. Yes, you do have to pull the full amount if I understand the question correctly, Jerry.
Yeah, you have two choices. It's 280,000 or 350,000. Now, in both projects, we pay all your taxes, your IMT and your VAT, which takes a lot of out-of-pocket money out of your worry. So both projects really only cost you about 2,000, 2,500 to pay your notary and your stamp duty. So other than that, that's all you're putting into your project. And then afterwards, when you cash out, 280 in, 280 out, 350 in, 350 out. So
right.
Your only costs are really looking at your government fees and your legal fees and tax representation fees.
Yeah. So the minimum cash amount is 280,000, and you have to have the full amount upfront in your account to pay for the investment at the end of the day. I think this one here, I'm not too sure, but do you have an expedited Schengen visa application process while still holding your South African passport? Now, obviously, once you gain your EU or Portuguese passports, you don't need a Schengen visa, and you can obviously have dual citizenship as well, South African and EU. So I'm not too sure if you've got anything further. Maybe Paul, have you got anything to add on that, if you know anything more? But I think that's there's no expedited process until such time as you have your passports, is my understanding. Obviously, once you get your residency permit, you can travel freely throughout the Schengen area without any visa. Is that correct, Jerry?
Yeah, once you get your golden visa card, that's a card. It's a physical card, and with that card, you can enter any Schengen country and travel freely within the Schengen region.
Right. Let me just see. There's a lot of repeat questions here. This doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it makes sense to you. What amount is the property buyback value? It's 100%, right?
Yeah, if you invest 280,000, we buy you back at 280,000. If you invest 350,000, we buy you back at 350,000. Okay.
Until the property is ready for occupancy, what happens to the week you get to be able to spend the 14 days in the country if the development gets delayed? So if I'm understanding that correctly, you obviously, if your property that you invested in is not available at the time, you will open up your other developments on availability options. Is that correct?
That's correct. If your property is not open yet, you can stay at one of the other properties. And we have 5 open right now, and we'll be opening another 3 this year and another 5 next year.
I think we covered this one. Is what is the cutoff age of children to be part of the program as dependents? And we said 30 years old, I think was the cutoff. Is that correct?
Now, the key is it's not an age per se. It's really that you're attending an educational institution on a full-time basis.
Right. I think we did cover that. Okay, here's one for you, Jerry. Hotel development costs often overrun. What happens if the project runs out of money and the hotel doesn't get completed? We've got to give you a couple of tough questions as well.
No, that's fine. You know, we've opened 5 hotels. We have another 10 under construction. We've been on par with our budgets. We budget for inflation. We budget for overruns. And whenever we went into a contract with our developers, they have performance penalties, and they have cost guarantees. So, you know, we're I wouldn't say we're smart, but we're a good team, and we manage our construction costs very well. If we were to go over budget, we'd have to put up the money ourselves. There's no going back for more money from the investors.
Right. Okay. I think I know the answers to one, but we get this from the horse's mouth. Can you include siblings?
No, you can only include your children, dependent children, and your both sets of parents.
Free healthcare, is that on citizenship or residency?
No, you're eligible for healthcare after your first year as a golden visa holder.
Correct. Okay, here's another construction delay, but we've answered that question. Okay, so there are additional fees, obviously above the 280 and 350,000. You've obviously mentioned that you guys cover the tax, etc. There's government fees and there's legal fees, and that's it. So you don't put any fees on over and above that, and neither does ROC Citizen put any fees over and above that. Is that correct?
Yeah. And in fact, you know, whenever someone comes to consult with you, we're able to provide a cost calculator,
Correct,
which breaks down all your costs from the beginning up until you get your passport. So you have the costs down to the penny.
Correct.
You know, the only significant cost that we're not referring to is the government fees.
Correct.
It's basically about €9,000 per family member to get the passports.
Right, correct. And is it correct that those fees are paid over the 5-year period, pretty much every 2 years?
They're paid over 6 years.
Over 6 years, exactly. Okay, so it's not a dramatic cost right up front. What is the additional cost for the €350,000 property purchase? I'm not sure what that means.
Well, there's the extra. I mentioned the stamp.
Oh, that's what we just discussed now, right?
€2,500.
Yes, yes. Okay, after the buyback, and you haven't had citizenship yet, do you keep the permanent residency?
Well, no, you have two choices. After 5 years, you can pursue the choice of permanent residency or pursue the choice of citizenship. I think for South Africans, I think citizenship makes the most sense, because permanent residency is going to create tax issues that you don't want to get into.
Right. But if you maintain the investment, the Golden Visa investment, you can sort of indefinitely maintain your residency status.
Yeah, you could continue with your golden visa up to 12 years. Right. So you just renew it every 2 years, and that's possible too.
Right. Okay. Okay, I think we covered this, is schooling, university fees as a citizen. We've discussed that. I think if you want to just touch on that quickly again.
Well, I think one thing people, you know, I think Karina could attest to that. Portugal, the cost of living is very reasonable. I don't like to say cheap, but very reasonable. Especially compared to Dubai or even South Africa. It's very economical. Schools, private schools for kids, universities are in English. They have English courses in some universities. So, you know, if you decide to live there, it's very economical. Food's great, nice wine, everything's, you know, pretty good price.
Yeah. No, 100%, and a beautiful place to live, and the weather is great. For South Africans, outdoor living is paramount, and Portugal, a lot of South Africans go to Portugal because of the weather and outdoor lifestyle. I think let's finish with one last question here. I think for this, I don't know if you have this at the top of your head or if it's even necessary, but what is the total value of the developments? I mean, it must run into the millions if that's what the question that he's asking.
Yeah, we have 500 million under development right now.
Right.
So, yeah, we're the largest developer in Portugal.
Okay, and I think he's trying to sum things up. In essence, the investor will provide seed finance for the developers when equity is being provided by the developers. What equity is being divided by the developers?
Well, on every project, we'll go in there and buy the land, package up the project, do the architectural drawings, do all the steps necessary to get it to the stage where we can bring in investors. So we always do that point, and then we bring in the investors when it's ready to accept investors.
All right, I think we can wrap that up. Paul, Jerry, anything you want to add? Lisa, you've been quite in the background there. Anything anybody wants to add before we wrap it up? All good?
I think, you know, first off, thank you, Ryan, for inviting us today. I think for South Africans, Portugal really provides a great option. We're seeing more and more South Africans come to Portugal just because, you know, it's a great place to live, and it just seems to fit what everybody's looking towards in terms of the future. So I do think it's a great plan B, and maybe even a plan A at some point.
Exactly, 100%. It would be my plan A for sure. Paul, anything from your side? You're on mute.
I did push it off mute, but I didn't click the mouse properly. If you want to just make a note of some of these other questions, because I can see some people put their questions in the
chat box. Yeah.
The Q&A. Yeah. And maybe when you send out the recording, we can just send some answers to those.
Absolutely.
As well.
Everybody's questions will be answered. Sorry, I see there's a chat box there that went in the Q&A. We'll definitely get back to everybody with questions. We'll send everybody a recording. even with the glitches that we experienced. Unfortunately, we lost Karina there. We would love to have heard from her. But Jerry, once again, thank you very much, all the way from Canada, the head of the show, massive project that you got. Thank you for taking the time to explaining everything to us, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon.
Well, I go to Dubai often, so I look forward to meeting people in the future.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, 100%. Well, I've seen you a couple of times at the expo. Hopefully catch you again.
Great. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming.
Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Karina, thank you, everybody. And just
Thank you.
Oh, you there, Karina? Sorry, we lost you. But
I'm really sorry for on the beginning, but there was a problem with the connection. I'm sure Jerry explained very well about Portugal. He's as Portuguese as me, almost at least.
You can send him a beautiful bottle of Portuguese wine as a compensation for handling your part. Thank you very much, Karina. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ryan. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just to let everybody know, we do have other webinars for the Caribbean. If you'd like to discuss these or get the registration, please get hold of me. I'll happily provide you the details on that. My contact details are here. I'm available 24/7. Anytime you want to ask any questions, even if the Portugal program is not for you, let me find you a solution. I'll gladly do that. And everybody look after yourselves, and we'll be chatting soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.